Oh, he's the shove it man. Oh, he's the shove it man. He's gonna shove it. Yeah. He's gonna shove it, man.
Alright, Ring of the Hawk Season 3, let's go. This was originally a video on Patreon, but because I've just got back from Mexico and everything's in chaos, I need to buy myself a little bit of time to get my act in order. So bear with the Hawk, there's some big stuff coming. Now back into the past I talk. So here's the short video I made on Psycho Sid's run in ECW. It's not talked about much. Even when he's been interviewed about it, he says he doesn't remember anything about it. So I guess we've got to find out for ourselves. Remember, we're looking at not just wrestling matches, but promos, star power, and fan reaction to help us decide what grade to shove him. I've always found Sid extremely interesting. Nobody else looked like him. He was almost a giant, and he was an intimidating presence. I also thoroughly enjoy his shoot interviews, because he just seems kinda cool and down to earth. The backstory here is that he finished up with the WWF just as the Attitude Era was kicking off. Sid was working with injuries and badly needed some time away. Plus, I've got the sense he just didn't really love wrestling, it was just business to him, and he loved playing his softball too. He wrestled his final televised match on WWF programming against Owen Hart in June 1997. He did return a month later, and he was supposed to face Vader at SummerSlam 1997, but that never happened as they released Sid. By the time Sid wrestles his first match for ECW, it's been a year and a half since he's wrestled on television. Not sure what we're going to be getting here then. Admittedly, he's been wrestling on the indies during this time. Kind of crazy to think a star of his calibre was wrestling Joe Schmo on the indies for a year and a half. Match 1, ECW Guilty as Charged, the first ECW pay-per-view. John Cronus makes his way out. He'll be taking on a mystery opponent. But first we get former ECW referee Judge Jones. I believe nowadays this guy's doing something to do with the AEW social media team. Anyway, he doesn't like Cronus for attacking him the other week, and he says he's found him guilty. Cronus will face his executioner tonight. Cronus mutters something in reply and stumbles around. He sounds really high. The judge says here he is, it's the man, and out walks Sid in a full jean combo. Joey Styles complains that he isn't wearing wrestling gear. The crowd are going berserk. Sid no-sells the punches of Cronus. He grabs him around the throat and throws him out the ring and through a table. The crowd squirt in their panties with happiness over that one. That's obviously not enough for Sid though, and he decides to smack Cronus with a chair 3 times. Sid grits his teeth and he gets him back in the ring. The powerbomb connects, which almost splits Cronus in half. And that's all we get, just a very short but effective squash match. The judge is back in the ring, and after a short celebration they both leave. What a wacky character for Sid to be associated with. Sid looked like a complete star though, and was a massive get for ECW in 1997. I'm giving his debut an A because it accomplished exactly what a debut needs to do, and the crowd ate it up. I find it really hard to figure out the order that the matches took place in ECW, but I sat for a few months of the Hardcore TV show and Sid almost never turned up. So from that I gather that Sid was probably just paid to wrestle on special ECW shows and the pay-per-views mostly. When he does turn up on TV, he just completely destroys everyone. And his gimmick seems to be choke slamming people through tables. These beatings are pretty crazy, and the ring and the camera shake like crazy every time Sid connects with a move. Poor Nova is placed on a stretcher and thrown into a pole. The crowd adore this man. Who would have expected Sid to be such a good fit in this company? Match 2, Skull Von Krosh, who's just vetoed from WCW, and the judge once again introduces the opponent, which is Sid. Sid boots him in the gut time and time again. The crowd are all chanting something about Sid already. Another gut kick, and then there's the choke slam over the rope through the table. It kind of looked more like a shove, but he didn't get much height on it, did he? Sid isn't done and he picks Skull up and drops him on the crowd barrier. This is a vicious beating. Sid looks like he wants to kill this man. Only fans in ECW can appreciate a psycho like this. Sid eventually gets him back in the ring as the crowd chant power bomb, and he obliges them to end the match. His facial expressions are not those of a sane man. The crowd chant one more time. He plays with the crowd for a while and then delivers a second powerbomb. It looks even more devastating. The segment ends with frantic ECW chants from the crowd. What a presence this man has, it's almost increased due to the smaller arena size. Giving this one a C because nothing really changed from the first match, but I sure enjoyed it. Match 3, tag match, ECW Living Dangerously 1999. Devon and Bubba Ray with Joel Gertner, Sign Guy Dudley and Mustafa versus Spike Dudley and Nova. No, I haven't just played the wrong match, bear with me. Not much of a story here, the Dudley boys just issue an open challenge, which Nova and Spike Dudley answer. Spike is thrown out of the ring pretty quickly into the crowd, and he hits the crowd barrier on the way. The crowd go on to carry him and surf him all around the arena, and whilst that's going on, Nova is completely destroyed and devastated by the Dudleys. The judge walks out with his stretcher, which is getting a massive ovation straight away from the crowd. I can't believe this part of the gimmick is actually working. I thought it was dumb at first. Sid walks out screaming and cussing like a nutcase. The Dudleys are now scared. Bubba grows a nutsack and calls Sid a homophobic slur. Sid grits his teeth with happiness. Devon can't believe the size of Sid. Sid tries to powerbomb him, which Bubba stops. It's now the Dudleys frantically hitting him, trying to keep Sid on the mat. Bubba insinuates on the mic that he's going to put his dick down Sid's throat. Sid doesn't like that one and he's up now and he ducks the clothesline, and there's a double chokeslam on the Dudleys, extremely rare for the double chokeslam to actually come off. With Bubba down, Sid is able to powerbomb Devon. Bubba's back up but he's smacked down. Sid tries to throw Devon onto the stretcher, who unfortunately falls a bit short of it. He exits the ring and sets Devon up on the stretcher properly. Spike has now returned from the crowd surfing. He climbs on Bubba on the ring ropes, but he quickly falls off and then rushes from the ring and punches Devon, who falls off the stretcher. Sid seems annoyed about this and confused. I think this was a botch and Spike was supposed to dive onto the stretcher. Meanwhile, Sid picks the heavy looking stretcher up above his head and drops it onto Devon. Back in the ring, Spike with a kick to the slash zone and the acid drop for the 3. The celebrations start, but the judge tells Sid to kill Spike too. What a dick. Sid pulls a scary face and powerbombs Spike through the mat. As usual, Sid isn't done and he powerbombs Spike off the ramp and through a table. The camera angle sucks bird turd, but I appreciate the spot overall. Sid leads a crowd chant and then leaves. I just want to see longer matches because it's so fun when he turns up. I'm giving this a B for everything because it was just so fun. Seek out and watch this segment if you can. Match 4, ECW Hardcore Heaven 1999. Oh well, that sucks, I was enjoying that while it lasted. It's fake Road Rash character Just Incredible with Jason and Jazz, and he takes on Sid with Judge Jeff Jones. The crowd reaction is so loud that the audio is distorted. Justin runs straight at Sid, he throws him into the air and lets him land on his face. Credible is sent upside down into the turnbuckle, which sends him back into Sid. He choke pushes Credible out the ring. Sadly, no table is there for the first time. Some kicks to the ribcage on the outside from Sid. We're back in the ring and Sid wants the powerbomb, which is broken up by Jason. This man looks tiny next to Sid and he eats a massive powerbomb. Credible takes a cheap shot with his cane and Sid no-sells that, and here's the chokeslam. Sid Vicious tries the powerbomb again, but this time he's stopped by a flying Lance Storm, but Sid no-sells the axe handle and he chokeslams Lance Storm. The referee unfortunately throws the match out for DQ. Talking of throwing, powder is thrown in Sid's eyes and they finally have him down. The Impact players frantically pound on him to keep him there. Sid gets a shot to the slash zone. It's not looking good for Sid now as Credible has a table set up on the ramp. The Impact players look to dive, but they can't do it because Sabu turns up throwing a chair around like a nutcase. Sabu now has both Sid and Credible on the table. Credible moves out the way and Sabu chair dives Sid through the table. Wasn't expecting Sid to go for a table. I mean, I think Sabu wanted to just kill everyone anyway. This is the only time Sid has ever been destroyed during his ECW time. Sid does make it back to his feet after a minute and I guess he felt humiliated, so he grabs Judge Jeff Jones and powerbombs him into the mat. The crowd loved that one so much that they asked for another. Sid powerbombs him again, and this moment would be used to write Sid off ECW TV and end his relationship with Jeff Jones. I'm giving this a B for entertainment values. That's all the matches we got today. There was one other Sid ECW match, which was a house show against a jobber, and as far as I know, there isn't any footage of that. A month or so later, Sid would be back in WCW. He's not really discussed as a talent that WCW took from ECW, but they did. I guess because Sid had been in WCW before, so he wasn't an ECW guy. Bischoff must have seen the insane crowd reactions for Sid in ECW and realised this guy was still a big star. Sadly, his final run with WCW didn't really go as planned. Sid has explained that he left ECW due to monetary issues and would have stayed for $250,000 a year. I think that would have been a pretty sweet deal. The fans loved him and he was mostly just throwing people around in short matches. Shame we couldn't have seen more in Sid in ECW, and some storylines would have been nice too. A short run is always hard to grade because they didn't have long to make an impression on me or get storylines going, but based on star power and fan reaction, he did do well. The matches were extremely short and basic, so it's not going to be a top tier grade. I think a C is fair for a fun but short run, and if you don't agree with that, I'll take your hun.